Sometimes in life, we try very hard to be remembered. We send messages, we make calls, we explain ourselves again and again. But let me ask you a simple question. When was the last time someone truly valued something that was always available? Sometimes in life, we feel the need to be constantly present in other people's lives. We reply immediately, we show up every time, we adjust, we compromise, and we convince ourselves that this is what love, care, and loyalty look like. But slowly, something strange begins to happen. The more available we become, the less visible we feel. The more we give, the more empty we feel inside. And one day, we pause and wonder, why am I not valued the way I value others? There is a quiet truth that many of us learn late in life. People often understand the worth of something only when it is no longer easily available. Think about it. Fresh air feels ordinary until breathing becomes difficult. Silence feels boring until life becomes noisy. In the same way, a person's presence feels ordinary when it is guaranteed. This is not because people are bad, but because human nature adapts very quickly. When you are always there, people stop noticing the effort. When you always forgive, people stop being careful. When you always stay, people stop choosing you consciously. This is why sometimes the most powerful message you can send is not through words, but through respectful silence and healthy distance. Letting someone miss you does not mean you become cold or arrogant. It simply means you stop abandoning yourself to keep others comfortable. You stop explaining your worth. You stop chasing validation. You give others the space to feel your absence and reflect on your value. There is great strength in knowing when to step back. Not every silence needs to be filled. Not every misunderstanding needs a long explanation. Not every relationship needs constant effort from only one side. When effort flows only in one direction, exhaustion is inevitable. A person who truly cares will notice when you are no longer around. They will feel the gap. They will ask questions. And if they don't, that realization, though painful, becomes a gift. It teaches you where you stand, and more importantly, where you should not stay. Life is not about being needed all the time. It is about being respected. And respect is born when you respect yourself enough to create boundaries. Absence is not rejection. Sometimes it is self-preservation. It is choosing peace over approval, balance over burnout, and self-worth over constant validation. When you allow people to miss you, you return to yourself. You reconnect with your calm, your clarity, and your inner strength. You realize that your value does not decrease just because someone fails to recognize it. Your worth was always there. So step back gently. Breathe. Trust the process. Those who matter will feel your absence, and those who don't were never meant to occupy so much space in your heart. When you choose yourself, life aligns you with people who don't need reminders of your value, they already see it. Many of us grow up believing that relationships survive only when we hold on tightly. We think that if we loosen our grip even a little, things will fall apart. So we keep checking, keep calling, keep adjusting, and keep proving our importance. But life has a gentle way of teaching us that what truly belongs to us does not need to be forced. What is meant to stay will stay, even when we take a step back. There is a deep difference between being loving and being over-available. Love is calm and confident. Over-availability is restless and fearful. When we are afraid of losing people, we try to be everywhere at once in their lives. Ironically, this is when we begin to lose ourselves. Our happiness becomes dependent on their attention, their replies, their moods. Slowly, our peace is exchanged for approval. Think about nature. The sun does not run behind anyone to prove its brightness. The moon does not apologize for disappearing for a few nights. Their value is understood even in their absence. In the same way, a person's worth does not increase by constant presence. It is felt when there is space to reflect. Sometimes, stepping back is an act of wisdom. It allows emotions to settle and perspectives to change. It gives others the opportunity to realize what your presence brought into their lives. Silence can be a mirror. Distance can be a teacher. When you stop filling every gap, people begin to notice the emptiness. This is not about testing anyone or playing games. It is about dignity. When you respect yourself, you naturally create boundaries. You stop over-explaining your intentions. You stop proving your loyalty. You understand that the right people will never need reminders to treat you well. There will be moments when stepping back feels uncomfortable. The mind will whisper doubts, asking if you are doing the right thing. But growth often feels unfamiliar. Peace sometimes feels strange to those who are used to chaos. Trust that choosing balance over burnout is not selfish, it is necessary. Those who truly value you will come closer when they sense your absence. They will reflect, reconnect, and respond with sincerity. And if someone does not notice your absence, that clarity, though painful, frees you from false expectations. It shows you where your energy no longer belongs. Life becomes lighter when you stop forcing connections. You begin to attract relationships that are based on mutual respect rather than constant effort. You learn that being present with yourself is more important than being available to everyone else. When you allow people to miss you, you return with more calm, more awareness, and less need for validation. You stand rooted in self-worth rather than approval. And from that space, relationships become healthier, deeper, and more meaningful. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give to yourself and to others is space. In that space, truth becomes clear, hearts become honest, and the right connections grow naturally, without force or fear. In our journey through life, many of us unknowingly equate our value with how much we are needed by others. We feel important when the phone rings, when messages arrive, when someone seeks our advice or presence. Slowly, this habit becomes an identity. We begin to believe that if we are not constantly available, we might be forgotten. But real connection is not built on fear of absence. It is built on respect and understanding. There is a subtle beauty in knowing when to pause. Just as music needs silence between notes to create harmony, relationships need space to remain healthy. When everything is continuous noise, the meaning is lost. In the same way, when your presence is constant, its impact fades. This is not a flaw in people, it is simply how the human mind works. Often, we keep giving explanations even when our actions already speak. We keep proving our loyalty even when it is already visible. Over time, this effort becomes heavy. The heart feels tired, yet the mind says, try a little more. But wisdom teaches us that effort without appreciation leads only to exhaustion. Stepping back is not withdrawal, it is reflection. It allows you to observe who reaches out, who checks in, and who notices the change. Not to judge them, but to understand the truth of your connections. Distance has a way of revealing intentions that words often hide. When you allow yourself to step away, you also reclaim your inner balance. You stop measuring your worth through external responses. You begin to listen to your own needs, your own rhythm. Peace returns when you no longer seek constant reassurance. Those who value you will feel your absence naturally. They will sense that something meaningful is missing, not because you demanded attention, but because your presence mattered. And those who move on without noticing teach you an important lesson: some relationships were sustained only by your effort. This realization can be painful, but it is also liberating. It frees you from carrying connections that were never equally shared. It invites you to invest your energy where it is returned with care and sincerity. Life becomes simpler when you stop forcing closeness. You learn that real bonds do not weaken with space, they deepen with understanding. When someone truly cares, distance strengthens appreciation rather than creating detachment. Choosing to step back is an act of self-respect. It is trusting that your value does not diminish in silence. You are enough even when you are not constantly present. Your worth is steady, quiet, and independent of external validation. When you return from this space, you come back grounded and clear. You engage with others from a place of wholeness rather than need. And in that state, relationships feel lighter, more honest, and more peaceful. Sometimes, letting others miss you is not about them at all. It is about finding yourself again, honoring your energy, and allowing life to align you with connections that recognize your presence without needing reminders. There comes a moment in life when we realize that constantly holding on can be more exhausting than letting go. Many of us spend years trying to stay relevant in the lives of others. We adjust our schedules, silence our discomfort, and ignore our own needs just to remain connected. We tell ourselves that this is kindness, that this is love. But deep inside, there is a quiet tiredness that keeps growing. Real care does not demand that you shrink yourself. It does not ask you to be available at the cost of your peace. When connection becomes a responsibility rather than a joy, something important is being overlooked. Often, it is our own well-being. There is wisdom in understanding that your presence is valuable, and like anything valuable, it must be treated with respect. When something is always accessible, its importance is rarely questioned. But when it is rare, it is cherished. This is not manipulation, it is awareness of human nature. Taking a step back is sometimes the most loving decision you can make. It allows emotions to settle and expectations to reset. It creates room for others to reflect on what your presence truly meant. Silence in such moments becomes more expressive than long explanations. Many people fear distance because they associate it with loss. But distance can also bring clarity. It shows you which bonds are rooted in mutual care and which ones survive only on your constant effort. This understanding, though uncomfortable at first, brings great peace later. When you stop over-giving, you begin to reconnect with yourself. You notice how much energy you have been spending to maintain certain relationships. And in that awareness, you start choosing balance over burnout. You realize that it is not your duty to carry every connection alone. Those who value you will naturally feel your absence. They will notice the silence and seek your presence with sincerity, and those who do not will reveal something important, not about your worth, but about their priorities. Life becomes lighter when you accept this truth. You stop chasing appreciation and start attracting respect. You learn that being calm and centered is far more powerful than being constantly available. In this space, relationships transform. They become more honest, less demanding, and more fulfilling. You engage not because you are afraid of losing someone, but because you genuinely want to connect. Choosing to step back is not an act of ego. It is an act of self-care. It is trusting that what truly belongs to you will find its way back, without force or fear. And as you grow comfortable with this understanding, you discover a beautiful freedom. You no longer seek validation in constant presence. You find peace in knowing that your value remains intact, whether you are noticed or not. This quiet confidence becomes your strength, guiding you toward healthier connections and a more balanced life. As we move through life, we often carry an invisible pressure to always be there for everyone. We believe that our presence is the glue that holds relationships together. So we show up even when we are tired, we listen even when we feel unheard, and we stay even when something inside us is asking for rest. Over time, this constant giving begins to drain us, and yet we continue, fearing that distance might weaken our bonds. But true connection is not built on constant availability. It is built on mutual care and conscious choice. When people choose you, not because you are always there, but because they genuinely want to, the relationship feels lighter and more real. Presence becomes meaningful when it is intentional, not automatic. There is a quiet power in stepping back. It gives you the chance to breathe and to observe. You begin to see which connections grow naturally and which ones require continuous effort from only one side. This awareness is not meant to create bitterness. It is meant to bring clarity. Many of us try to fill every silence with words, every gap with effort. But silence has its own language. It allows space for reflection. It allows emotions to settle. And often, it allows others to recognize what they have taken for granted. Absence gently reminds people of value without saying a single word. When you give yourself permission to pause, you also reclaim your inner balance. You stop measuring your worth through responses and reactions. You reconnect with your own rhythm, your own peace. In this space, you begin to understand that your value does not depend on how much you are missed or needed. It simply exists. Those who care will feel the shift. They will notice your absence and reach out with sincerity. They will appreciate your presence more deeply when you return. And those who remain unaffected teach you an important lesson. Not every connection is meant to be carried forward, and not every relationship deserves your constant energy. This understanding can be painful, but it is also freeing. It releases you from the habit of over-giving and over-explaining. It allows you to invest in relationships that nourish you rather than exhaust you. Life becomes more peaceful when you stop forcing closeness. You learn that real bonds do not fade with space, they mature with understanding. When there is respect, distance does not create insecurity, it creates appreciation. Choosing to step back is not about becoming distant or cold. It is about honoring your own needs and limits. It is about trusting that what is genuine will remain, and what is not will gently fall away. In this balance you find strength. You show up in relationships as a whole person, not as someone seeking validation. And from that place, connections become deeper, calmer, and more fulfilling. Sometimes, letting others miss you is simply an invitation for life to realign you with people who recognize your worth without constant reminders. And in that alignment, peace naturally follows. Let them miss you, so you remember your worth is not measured by how much you give, but by who you are. And when you return calmer, wiser, and more centered, because a person who knows their value never has to beg for it. Thank you.